Okay, SRI for SEI. Oh, no more POAs. What is SRI? Solutions Evaluation and Integration Team. That's us. Robot Framework. It's a solutions acceptance test that is off the shelf. You can just go get it. It's open source. You download it, you install it. Infrastructure. Homegrown set of libraries that I'm developing and my team is developing for the rest of my solutions engineering team. SRI, Solutions Evaluation and Integration, Robot Framework, Infrastructure. Say that 3 times really fast. What are SRI's goals? Automation for all testers. You guys all have a lot of manual testing that you guys are often having to do over and over again. I want to increase your efficiency. I want to make sure that you guys can all automate. I want to be able to automate for acceptance, solution, regression, and longevity. Robot Framework in and of itself is designed for acceptance testing only, but I've augmented it and I want you guys to all embrace it. Short ramp up. I want you guys to be productive within 24 hours of me introducing you to the SRI. I know that's a very difficult goal, but I believe I can achieve it. And I want no external dependencies. As you guys know, we have 2 other frameworks. We have Autotest and Test System, and they both have external dependencies. Test System is in Montreal, and we have to have our setups, our pods, always talking to the mothership, and it's never easy. And Autotest relies on Pod Manager, which has its own set of problems. My goal is no external dependencies. Is SRI the right fit for SEI? Let's find out. SRI on Robot Framework. Like I said, Robot Framework is open source. It runs on both Linux and Windows. I will only support Linux. You guys are free to use Windows if you want, but what I provide for you guys will be Linux based. You guys can then take those scripts and running in Windows if you so want, if you so desire. If you have a problem, don't come crying to me. I will give you guys a VM, so everything will be built in, ready to go, all prerequisites, everything's ready to go. Like I said, it's designed for acceptance testing, but I've augmented it to do other things. It's Python based, so any Python libraries that exist out there right now, you guys can easily import and start using. There is no wrapper, there is no configuration. You just resource that file, and you've got access to all kinds of Python libraries. Has a large following, therefore a lot of forums and support, and has its own IDE. Why Robot Framework? Easy to distribute. Like I said, I'm going to give you guys a VM. English-like. You can abstract all kinds of stuff. The libraries that I've created are very English-like. You guys don't have to learn or know how to program. You guys don't have to know Python. It's extensible. If you do know Python, and you guys want to add more to what I'm doing, you can easily write your own Python scripts and start using them, on top of the fact that you can import Python libraries. There are JSON, SSH, and Telnet libraries, which, as you guys know, we use a lot in our environment, or SSH and Telnet. Huge plus right here, built-in logging and reporting capabilities. We can quickly deploy our test cases. If there's a failure, we can quickly analyze why it went wrong, and I'll give you guys an example of that. Here is RIDE. Here's some code. As I said, it's very English-like. There are 3 tabs. We're going to examine each one individually. First, let's look at the text editor. This is your code. This is the code that you will be writing. Everything in red are the keywords that I will be providing for you. A keyword, think of it as a function. These are built in. Very English-like. Directory should exist. It's built in. Create a file. You pass the file name and what you want in the file. File should exist. Now you make sure that that file exists, and that's it. This is a test case. That easy. You can be up and running that easily. Now if you want to get more complicated and start running this against our own DUTs, our own devices, then you're going to start relying on the libraries that I'm going to provide for you guys. Provision CNM, provision devices, and validate that the devices actually were adopted and are talking to the cloud controller. This I developed. I want you guys to start using this. Now, one thing to pay attention to here is we have spaces here, and these could also have spaces. And for those of you who know programming, all of you guys know that usually a space is the delimiter, and that complicates things when you're trying to read it. Not here. The delimiter is not the space. The delimiter is actually a tab, which in and of itself has some problems. Because it's a tab, there are people who actually use Excel to program in robot. I know, kind of weird, huh? Let's look at an example using an Excel-like interface. Now we're looking at edit. Look at this. This is Excel, basically. This is your keyword. These are your parameters. Excel, if you prefer programming in Excel, I don't know why you would. You're welcome to. I prefer BI. I'm old-fashioned. Let's look at the third tab, run. You can execute the test cases. These are all test cases. This is your test suite. One at a time, all at a time. You have a lot of freedom here. When it fails, it tells you, gives you some information on why it failed, but it does give you the overall report on your test case. I could have had this pass, not very interesting, I'm failing it. Then, here's one of the main strong points of robot. You can go look at a report and logs. The report is just a summary, a quick summary of everything that you ran. In this particular case, we only ran one test case in this test suite. The name of the test case, the result, a little message, and then some statistics. Not very interesting, not a lot of detail, but it does give you a very quick rundown of your entire test suite. Your test suite could be, this one ran for milliseconds, but you could have one that runs for 72 hours, longevity testing, right? In that particular case, you would have hundreds of these and a very quick summary of whether each individual test suite or test case passed or failed. Let's say this is not enough information for you to go figure out why it failed. Your dot is offline, something happened. No problem, go to your log, and here's your log. Now you go into each individual function, keyword, and go all the way down to the failure. And you look at the error message and it tells you why it failed. I didn't build this into our keywords, our functions, our libraries. This is already in here. Even with the libraries that I created, this functionality is there. Awesome for debugging and triaging. Yes?
Yes.
Any questions so far? These are the libraries my team is creating. I'm creating for you guys. We're going to be manipulating switches. We're going to be manipulating access points. They're all going to be managed by the Cloud Network Manager. You will be able to go and, with these libraries, configure anything and everything about these three devices, anytime, anywhere. These common libraries apply both to switch and AP. In addition, we're going to have two libraries for VeriWave, Ixia, Nperform, endpoint manipulation, you name it. We are creating all that for you guys. You guys are my customer. You guys are the most important people in my life right now. What does a typical library look like? Typical library will allow you to configure that feature. Each feature will have its own library. Configure it, delete it, validate that your configuration actually made it to the device, get statistics. So you'll be able to go pull statistics from a particular feature and then, more importantly, update that particular feature. This is a sample of one library, but this will extend across all libraries. And then some libraries, depending on the library or the feature, will actually have a lot more keywords, functionality. How would you configure that particular feature? Where are you going to store that information? A JSON file. You guys are all familiar with JSON, but here's a very quick example. Here's a JSON object. You can pass a JSON object to these libraries or these keywords, or you can pass a complete JSON file with 20 or 30 or 5 JSON objects. Very easy to manipulate and configure different aspects of that feature. So, how will you get SRI? Easily, with a VM. So easy, you can be up and running in less than 24 hours. How will you get updates from us? Git repository. Go, pull, you're done. You got the latest and greatest. Is SRI a perfect fit for SEI? I think so. Automation for all testers. Automation for all types of testing. Short ramp up. And no external dependencies. I think those are things that will fit and benefit the SEI team. You be the judge. Any questions?